This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's going on, Winnipeg? Welcome to a big Monday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. After a very deflating and disappointing Game 4 in St. Louis yesterday afternoon, this series is tied at 2. And it's the Blues that have the momentum coming back to Winnipeg for a crucial Game 5 Wednesday night at 8:30 at Canada Life Centre. We are going to break down what the heck happened in St. Louis. Kevin Sawyer will join us on the program. And Mike McIntyre coming up a little later on as well. We'll hear from Coach Arniel, Mark Scheifele, as well as Jim Montgomery, who spoke yesterday after the game. And as we go live right now, just past 1 p.m. here in the Peg, Connor Hellebuyck has just spoke down at the arena after an optional. So we'll try and have some of that for you as well a little bit later on in the show. Obviously, when you lose 2 games like that, there are a lot of questions being asked about the Winnipeg Jets, about what happened. And certainly... when you lose games like that, you'll look at the big players, the guys that are paid the money to come through, and no one came through more through the regular season than Connor Hellebuyck. Safe to say games 3 and 4 were not 2 of his better nights, and the scoreboard and the goaltending numbers will tell you that as much. We are going to... probably get into a bit of a therapy session for a lot of Jet fans today. It is important to remind yourself that this is a 2-2 series. But to be honest, it didn't feel like that after yesterday's game. But it's coming down to the best of 3. The Jets have 2 games at home. I did just realize Jordan Binnington hasn't won in Winnipeg since 2021. So maybe they can stay on top of that come Game 5 and keep that going. Just bottom line is the Winnipeg Jets as a team, not just focusing on one player, are going to need to be a heck of a lot better. I mean, there were moments, there were stretches in both Game 3 and Game 4 where the team looked pretty good, but it just wasn't close to enough, and they didn't have an answer for a St. Louis Blues team that significantly turned it up in a lot of different ways. So I'm looking forward to having Kevin on the program today to get his thoughts on it. I know the chat is already buzzing, and we'll get to your fan feedback for Fans First a little bit later on today to see how everyone's feeling. And bottom line is what this team can do to get back in the driver's seat of this series. I don't think when you consider what's happened in the playoffs the last couple of years, when you think about this regular season that this team put together, the 2 wins at home to start the series, Game 5, without hyperbole, I think is the biggest gut check that this team has ever been in. And I'm not sure whether we'd call it a referendum or, but in a lot of ways, I think we're going to find out what this team is made of in game number 5. Are we going to see a team that's able to get back to their game the way they did consistently throughout the regular season when they had a game or two, a bad game or two? Or will we see a team that in the last 2 playoffs has lost a couple of games and just never found a way to recover? They're in that spot right now. We will learn a lot about this team and what it's made of coming up on Wednesday night at 8:30 at Canada Life Centre. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen every day. Of course, our great partners at Coolbet, Princess Auto, as well as KFC, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Ben Moss Jewelers, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, St. Mattel Dental Center, and Rolly's Transfer, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Let's Do It Travel, F Apparel, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Breezy Bend. We will get to that why not question of the day for Not Autocorp, Waverly and McGilvery. And coming up, some fan feedback, of which there will be plenty, brought to you by Fans First. Let's get Michael Remis in here and get this show on the road. Remo, what's going on? Where's your head at today?
My head is at the series is tied 2-2, and I feel like we're in a bit of Groundhog Day. A lot of similar feelings to last year. You know, I'm having a lot of flashbacks to the last time the Jets played the Blues in a Game 5 in Winnipeg, and they have a chance to change history, chance to rewrite it. They're still tied. They have home ice advantage, and they say that a series isn't over till a team loses at home, and that is certainly the case for the Winnipeg Jets in this one. So while it has not looked great in St. Louis, hey, they're still tied. They can come back. They can find their game, and they play a full 60 like they played the first period yesterday. They can erase, these two games in St. Louis, but I think it's tough. You're bringing up a lot of playoff demons. If they had lost two really tight games in St. Louis where they had stuck to their structure, had limited defensive opportunities, I think you'd be singing a different tune, but just the way they got dominated, the types of goals that you're seeing, very similar to what Colorado did last year. It's bringing up a lot of playoff demons, bringing up a lot of flashbacks, Huss. They're showing the Connor Hellebuyck game-by-game stats over the last 3 series here. It's not great. So, I don't know, you can hold that, hey, at least it's 2-2 and they have home ice. I think you got to cling to that and say, okay, let's try to figure out how the Winnipeg Jets can get back to their game.
Waiters in chat. Apparently the Blues are leading the series 2-2. And it does sort of feel like that. I can't even deny that going into Game 5. Just, I think because of how shell-shocked the Jets looked and certainly the fans felt after those last couple of games. Welcome to all the St. Louis people jumping into the chat. Nice to see you here. I did not see a lot of you after games 1 or 2, but we welcome you all. We welcome you all in here. Again, I would caution before doing too big of a victory lap in a 2-2 series right now. But this definitely is a series. And, if you thought that if anybody thought that this was going to be easy, because the first 2 games at home were far from it. I mean, both really, really tough, close games that the Jets, as they've done all year, found ways to win. The 2 games in St. Louis were the exact opposite. And I know, Remis, after Thursday's game on Friday, I had said, well, maybe getting your butt kicked the way they did in Game 3 might be a good thing. Might be an easier way just to park it, to move on, and be much better in the first game, as opposed to, being on the verge of going up 3-0 and losing in double overtime or something like that. I certainly don't have the same feeling today after having basically the same thing happen in Game 4. It absolutely is concerning. And I mean, I've been one to try to not dwell on past playoff history because teams are different, and I don't really think big picture that what happened in 2023 against Vegas or even last year should be impactful at all when it comes to a series, a year or 2 years after the fact. But like anything, when you are trying to exorcise ghosts or demons or get over a hump that you haven't been able to do in the past, you're going to be challenged. And you're going to be challenged in a big way to see whether you have made the necessary improvements, mental adjustments, everything that goes into being better and accomplishing your goal after falling short on it. This, to me, is the biggest look in the mirror moment for the Winnipeg Jets that they've certainly had since last year when they bowed out in 4 straight after winning the first game against the Colorado Avalanche. And we talked a lot about everything that was going on into this series. I mean, you win the President's Trophy, an amazing accomplishment. You win the Central Division for the first time, something Jet fans had never been able to say. Our team was the best in the division and won it this year. It had the number 1 seed. With that comes a whole lot of expectations and a whole lot of pressure. And when you combine it with what happened, that for some people is still very much there in their frontal lobe with the losses the last couple seasons, it brings us to Wednesday, and it brings us to Game 5, and what answer we get from Winnipeg. The one thing that I'll tell you, and I certainly expect, is that we're going to see the St. Louis Blues team from Game 3 and 4. They were much better. Listen, it was a very physical couple games in Winnipeg. I'm not sure that the physicality was close in these last couple. And, Mark Scheifele was paying the price. Josh Morrissey is getting run right now. And I think that this team needs a little more give than just the take that we saw, and also needs to be able to handle it better. And we can talk about goaltending all we want. One goal isn't going to win you games. They need to do more offensively, and they need to get back to where they were in games 1 and 2, where the Winnipeg Jets were the team that was really controlling the blue paint in front of the goaltenders. That has not been the case in these last 2. Jordan Binnington's been seeing pucks. Connor Hellebuyck hasn't been seeing enough, and they've been going in on it. So, we can break it down in a million different ways and hear it from the coaches and what the players have to say, Remis, but come Wednesday night at 8:30 at the Canada Life Center, probably more like about 8:52, this team has a great opportunity, if you want to look at it that way, to stare down some of these demons and ghosts and say, not this time. Because if it doesn't go the other way, it's certainly going to be just another year. There was 2 bad playoffs, it would be 3. And there's no getting around the Game 3 and 4 of the 2025 first round against the St. Louis Blues felt a lot like the last 2 playoff series the Jets have been when it was slipping away on them.
Yeah, the part that's concerning for me is Scott Arniel after the game just talking about how they're doing things that they don't normally do. And you look at the goals against, getting beat in the corner, coverage issues. I think you can point to maybe partial goaltending on some of them, but that's not the entire story. So the Jets, again, not only defensively are you not executing what you normally do, offensively, they're in trouble. The power play is 2 for 12 in this series. You had an opportunity early in the first period when they were playing their game with 2 power plays, and they can't convert. You're missing Gabriel Velarde. You hope he can come back tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see, the clarification on that. But hey, you should be able to contribute something with the man advantage. And as far as depth, the first line is the only one that can score, and the fourth line has provided 2 goals in very limited ice time. The second line, Nemestikov, had a couple, chances throughout the series, hasn't converted. Mason Appleton hit the post. He's had some chances. They haven't scored, and you have some of the Blues depth contributing. And so I think there's so many areas, Huss, where they can improve, and it just really all around was 2 very bad games in St. Louis. I know for the first half it was good, but it was all undone. You just saw St. Louis, how they celebrated that first goal, Huss. They knew they got outplayed in that first period, and when they scored with under 30 seconds left to tie it, they knew they escaped in a very good position heading in. And the game was close for the first half of the second period, but they scored 1, and as Mark Scheifele said, it all unraveled, and they were beating the Jets to pucks, finding open guys, and getting to the front of the net, and the Jets weren't able to clear the puck out and help Connor Hellebuyck out. And again, his numbers have not been good. I think a lot of it is on the team, but at a certain point, you are what your numbers say, and some responsibility on him as well. Coincidentally, Hellebuyck was announced today. He did get nominated for the Vezina Trophy, but for the 5th time in his career, and doesn't.
I think all 3 goalies that got nominated today have save percentages in the 800s right now in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, so
Kemper and Vasilevsky.
So
the timing. I'm sure people are having fun in the comment section of that one. But hey, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from Hellebuyck, who, in the past has always been like, hey, I have full confidence in myself. I like my game. I'm just going to keep what I'm doing. I mean, just reading a quote from Mitch Clinton, he said that he knows that he has to be better. Certainly the team has to be better. But just you mentioned of how, there was an element, it kind of felt like sort of the fragility of the team that we hadn't really seen all year in these last couple of games when things started going bad. It just, to use Mark Scheifele's words, unraveled on them. Let's not forget, this is the same team that a week ago in game 2 gave up a goal with 0.8 seconds left to tie the game after the first period. And they didn't wilt. They played a great final 40 minutes and ended up winning that hockey game. So it was a little concerning to see just the way things went after the Tucker goal. To me, it was the Tucker goal that just killed them. The game could have been, it easily could have been up at that game. Now, they didn't make the most of their power plays early on, take advantage and get to 2-0. I think that was, something that you'll look back at game 4 and sort of regret from a Winnipeg side of things. But it was still, midway through the hockey game, it's 1-1. You were right in it. And the Tucker goal, obviously there was somewhat of a screen on it. That one hurt. And then for Braden Shen to score the way that he did, that to me was the real deflator. Never mind the Falk goal 1 minute later when it just seemed like the roof was kind of caving in on them. And I know there's been a lot of talk about Hellebuyck on the Shen goal, which to me is a little strange. Like, Shen came in, and this is what really bothers me about it, and kind of bothers me about putting this all on the goaltender. Braden Shen went in untouched, scored a goal in the blue paint, and the first touch that he had when he entered the Winnipeg zone was his teammates congratulate him after he scored the goal. Hellebuyck gets his stick as a barrier to sort of tie him up. Like, I don't know, people saying he should have gone and covered the puck. I'm not really too sure how possible that would be with him going in at the momentum that he would, but he did tie him up. Where was the defense? Where was Mark Scheifele on that play? Guys, this is, and I guess to the point that you make, Remis, that is stuff that had not been happening all year. And it can't continue to happen if they want a chance to beat the St. Louis Blues. So we'll see what Kevin has to say. We'll hear from Mike coming up as well. And in just a sec, we'll hear some of those comments from Scott Arniel. Hey, before we do that, big shout out to our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, family owned and operated for over 60 years. Folks, if you got a move coming up this summer, give our friends Rolly's a holler or check out their website at rollys.com. Click on request an estimate and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn it around quick with a great quote to get you locked in with the white glove treatment that Rolly's is famous for, now into their 7th decade of moving Manitobans. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's. Find out more, request an estimate today over online at rollys.com. Our friends at St. Vital Dental Center are ready for spring. If you need a spring cleaning for the grill, why don't you head on down and see Dr. Terry and his great staff at their beautiful new location at 167 St. Anne's Road with free parking right behind the building. St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Winnipeggers from 6 months all the way to 99 plus and has a full array of services from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants from experienced professionals and an amazing staff. For all your dental needs, give our friends at St. Vital Dental Center a call, 167 St. Anne's, and online at stvitaldental.ca. I did, in my depression after the game yesterday, have something that did brighten my spirits, and that was the new Canadian Club ready-to-drink cocktails. Of course, we enjoyed those CC and Gingers last year, especially at Bomber games, as Canadian Club is, of course, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But the gang at Canadian Club has cranked it out with 3 times the fun this year. Your club and bringing the flavor with Canadian Club and Ginger Ale, which is back. The new Canadian Club Citrus Smash, crafted with whiskey and Canadian whiskey and lemon flavors. That one's got some carbonation in it. And the one that I tried that I absolutely loved, which will be amazing on the golf course this year, is the Canadian Club Half and Half, which is crafted with Canadian whiskey, iced tea, and lemonade flavors, sort of like a CC Arnold Palmer. You can see it right now on the screen. There is the club pack. That is a great deal. Now, you can buy the 4-pack separately for $12.99. Get the 12-pack, $30.99 for 4 of each. The new drink of the summer is here. Canadian Club, ready to drink cocktails. Grab the club pack with all 3 flavors today. And hey, of course, the Jets are going to need a boost, a high-octane boost going into Game 5. The whiteout will be the proverbial battery for the Winnipeg Jets, we hope. And, of course, when you need a whiteout-like boost to anything in your life, make it Manitoba Battery, your local option where you'll get the best prices in town on batteries of all makes and models. And, of course, Donnie the Gang, your local option with the best prices in town, beating the pants off the big box stores. And 2 great locations to serve you, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive. But as you know, they'll take care of you. Best customer service around as well from your local battery experts. They'll deliver it to you for free with any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. Find out more today in-store or order online for free delivery at manitobabattery.com. All right, Kevin Sawyer is going to join us in just a couple of minutes. But before we do that, because I want to get to this with Kevin, I should say, let's hear what Scott Arniel had to say after last night's loss, or yesterday afternoon's loss in St. Louis. Here is head coach Scott Arniel just on the game and the way it got away on them in the second half.
Yeah, it was a great start. I thought that we did a lot of things that we had, talked about as a group. Got off, had a lot of opportunities. Bennington made some big stops. We couldn't find a way to. We finally got one, obviously, but the one with 22 seconds or 23 seconds that got them back in it after not playing a very good period. Even the first 8 minutes of the second, we were up and running again, and last 10 minutes we gave up 3 goals that are. Those are coverage goals. Those are situations that, much like the first one, those are situations that, we usually handle pretty well. And, those are, they're finding ways to get that puck in the net. And we got to do a better job on the other end, making sure that we score some of those goals as well.
All right. I mean, both of the 2 late goals in the second period were really killers. But here's what Arnie had to say about that goal in the final minute to make it 4-1.
That's just coverage. We got stuck on the wall, and that's just a coverage thing. I mean, the guy makes it. We end up 2 of their guys at the net front versus one of ours. They make a nice play and tip it, but I'm tired of watching them make nice plays and put them in the net. But that's on us. And I look at all the goals. I mean, those are coverage goals. Those are things that we usually handle pretty well, and we didn't tonight.
Understatement. They definitely did not handle that tonight. Now, here's one more from Arniel, and this was Murat asking about Connor Hellebuyck's play. And again, he sort of, certainly maintained his confidence in his goaltender, but talked about the coverage breakdowns that added to the mess they were dealing with.
Are you of the opinion that it's more about giving Connor Hellebuyck his eyes back or getting another save from him?
Again, the coverage part of it, there's ways that we have to play. One is, obviously, if there's people getting the net, we got to get them out of there before they try to get their screens. We got to box out earlier, those type of things. There's a lot of, like I mentioned, there's a lot of coverage stuff that we know how to do those things. We've been doing it all year long. We just get back to being better at it. We were good at it in the first. We did a great job in the first. We did a great job playing fast, defending fast. We did all those things. At the end of the day, you know what? They took advantage of home ice. We played 82 games to get home ice. Now it's the best of 3. We put ourselves in this position. We really wanted to come home, either winning it or up 3-1. We're not. Now it's a best of 3. Our best players have to be better than their best players.
So there's Coach Scott Arniel. We'll have more of the coach later on. We got Kevin Sawyer, though. Looking forward to bringing Kev in to see what his where he's at on this series. We're also really excited to have KFC Canada, a Winnipeg fan favorite, on board as a playoff partner for Winnipeg Sports Talk. KFC Canada is an official partner of the Winnipeg Jets and is committed to providing Jet fans a delicious game day experience with exclusive finger-looking-good promotions we're proud to bring to the Canada Life Centre. On Jets game days, KFC Canada is giving away their Big Crunch chicken sandwich for just $4.95 at participating KFC locations to help Jet fans enjoy the game with a big hit. Make a point of jumping on that Big Crunch special on Wednesday for the next Jets game day. But grab a bucket of some great taste in KFC tonight and any night as proud supporters of WST and your Winnipeg Jets. All right, let's bring in Kevin Sawyer. Kev, great to have you back on the program. Let's just say a little different mood around the peg after these 2 games in St. Louis. Someone in chat kind of said it. The Blues are leading the series 2-2. It is 2-2, but after these games, it sort of feels like all the momentum has shifted to St. Louis.
It is. I agree with that totally.
Hold on a sec. That's
Sorry,
all right.
one sec. That's on me.
Yeah.
That's not. Okay, you're good now. Sorry.
As good as it is to hear my voice, I don't need to hear it twice. The momentum clearly in the hands of St. Louis, and not only did they hold serve on home ice, but I mean those were statement wins. And if I'm St. Louis looking at this saying, okay, above and beyond the wins, if there's any kind of underlying victories, they got those 2, and that is, can we find a way to break down this defensive juggernaut of a team? They did. And they did it in different ways. We'll get to that maybe in a little bit here. And then can we find a way to maybe get into the head of the Vezina caliber goaltender? It's Binnington against Hellebuyck. Binnington's winning the head-to-head battle, simply put. And that's all due respect to Connor. He's an outstanding goaltender and has been, but it's a what have you done for me lately? So going back into Winnipeg, you get the sense there's some doubt. Now, in saying that, this team has been through a lot of ups and downs. They've been through adversity with injuries or just, different style throughout the course of the regular season. And I think that they've earned the respect and the trust from the fan base and from all of us that this team has what it takes to recalibrate here and get their balance back. But there's no doubt they've been knocked off balance here with those 2 games in St. Louis.
Kev, game 3 was bad. I mean, and it got away from them big time. And I kind of thought on Friday that, if you were going to lose game 3, maybe getting your butt kicked the way that they did might actually be the better of 2 options than maybe being like 1 goal away in double overtime from being up 3-0 and then having to go back at it. And to their credit, I thought the first period was pretty good. The first 2 minutes or so, I thought the Blues really came out, but the Jets managed to steal themselves. They got that goal. They certainly had the control of play. More of it was in the Blues' end. And then that late goal happened. And, I was just mentioning, let's not forget, the same damn thing happened in game number 2. And how did they respond? Very well in the second period, although they didn't score. And then they got one and they locked it down and won game number 2. In your mind, what was different about the way the Jets handled, maybe not as much the first goal, but the second goal when things really got out of hand in that second half of the second period?
Yeah, that was where the game turned. And if you're going to be accurate and fair and call it what it is, it's a bad goal against. Some will say, that they were in the eyes of Hellebuyck, his eyes were taken away. No, they weren't. There's going to be traffic. You show me a goal or a shot to the net where there's not traffic, but there was minimal traffic and it evacuated. The shot attempt from Tanev was far enough away where Hellebuyck has eyes on that shot. And in the regular season, you've seen it, I've seen it, we've seen it. That save just simply gets made. And so I agree with you. I thought that Scott Arniel game planned properly coming into game number 4. You got thumped in game 3, you come back, you make the adjustments, and it was all about how can we control the neutral zone and take that heavy, hard forecheck away from the Blues. The Jets did that. It wasn't easy, and the Blues are not going to go away. They're not a type of a team where you can game plan and just make them disappear. They're going to push, but Arniel does a nice job countering with his game plan. And so you win the first period, you're tied after the first period 1-1, but the Jets go into the locker room saying, okay, we're back. Our style's working. We're controlling play. And then you come back out, push back from St. Louis, and that goal going in, I think, deflated them. That's a goal that normally gets saved. So when the Jets break down here and there, every team does, that goal gets made. That save gets made. It didn't get made, and now all of a sudden doubt crept in. And from there, I didn't like the third goal either, the Schenn goal. I thought that was, man, I'm not quite sure how to describe that. I'm no goalie expert, but with Hellebuyck kind of, I'm not going to say a hope play, but he paddles down, you leave the top of the net open, and Schenn's good enough where he's good and tight. So that second goal changed, I felt, belief and took confidence away from Winnipeg.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm with you, and I've heard a lot of people talk about the goals on Hellebuyck, and they kind of talk about the Schenn goal and not the first one. I'm of the opinion that the save he really needed to make was the Tucker goal. The Schenn goal, I mean, we can talk about what Hellebuyck did. Dude, the first body to make contact with Schenn in the Jets zone was his teammates mobbing him after he scored the goal. Like, he came in untouched, and in that play, to me, I kind of thought that Hellebuyck correctly put his stick out to prevent him from just waltzing right in front of the net with no problem, but he still has kind of had his stick out. I don't know what he's supposed to do other than hope that someone realizes that this guy's coming in all alone and hit him or stop him from doing that, and it just didn't happen. Like, to me, that was more of a collective letdown than just one on the goalie.
Totally agree. I totally agree. The only thing maybe that you and I might agree to disagree on is normally I think Hellebuyck just says, you know what, okay, you're coming in untouched, I'm going to beat you, versus kind of hope with the paddle and, hit the shot, save the shot. But I agree with you. That second goal against, that was the tough one because they still felt midway through the second period that it was a tug of war, but the Jets would say that we've owned a majority of the minutes played in this game so far. And now not only are we tied, but now we're down by a goal, and that building's a tough one to play in. What is it, 14 straight for St. Louis at home wins. So again, it was I just don't think the Jets are used to those type of goals going in, particularly in big moments like that. This is new territory in some ways. So to be quite fair and to be quite honest, Binnington is outplaying Hellebuyck. I mean, that's obvious. Hellebuyck, Scott Arniel's going to protect his goaltender, Hustler. He is. And he should. But at the same time, the truth is the truth. And sometimes just looking right into the mirror and saying it sometimes pulls everybody to attention. He hasn't been good enough. Team hasn't been good enough, but I thought that they were pretty damn good in the first half of that game, game 4. I thought that it was Hellebuyck that needed to find a way to get his game back to the level where everybody talks about best goalie on the planet. He wasn't the best goalie on the planet in that game.
The words adjustments always gets thrown around a lot, in these series. Wow, you got to make an adjustment in between periods or adjustments in between games. And we've heard this said about St. Louis. I'm interested from your expert opinion what you have seen those adjustments to be, because I can tell you what the result has been. A series that we talked about, the key to the Jets winning the way they did in games 1 and 2, where they were the team that was controlling the blue paint, has been completely flipped on its side. And half the goals that have gone in on Hellebuyck have been screened. And Binnington is seemingly seeing everything. Like, what have the St. Louis Blues done in these 2 games that has flipped that massive, massive part of the competition in their favor?
Okay, good question. And here's what I see. When the Jets, and it's often, are at their best and they play to their identity, they are a gap team. The relationship from defense to forwards is tight, and it is 5 men with 1 mind. I say that often. So they are able to control teams through the neutral zone as they come back and teams try to attack them. Because the forwards track back so hard, the D can stay up, and they usually take speed away from other teams. They control the neutral zone, And now the Jets are fast. Now they're attacking. Now they're playing the game north of the red line. It's the St. Louis Blues that have found different ways to get through the neutral zone. Game one, it was a ground and pound through the first 40 minutes, whether they were backing the Jets D off and carrying the puck in controlled entries or chipping and getting on the body and ramming them through the end walls. It was working. Jets had a good third period, won that game. Maybe St. Louis deserved to win it. They didn't. That's fine. And then the Jets adjusted in the third period. Game number two, I thought that the Blues found different ways, whether they're entering with control, chipping and getting on the body, or last game in the second period, Montgomery makes the right adjustment where, okay, by committee, we're not going to have a ton of speed through the neutral zone. They've adjusted. So now let's just chip it and smother. They're not even getting the big hits anymore off the forecheck like they were, but they're getting bodies to the puck below the hash marks. And then from there, they're just content to say, slow the game, force them to defend. The Jets are not comfortable and haven't been comfortable because they haven't had to do it. They haven't had to spend big minutes in their own zone typically against good teams throughout the course of the regular season. Now St. Louis win a battle, low to high, shot from range. Hellebuyck's not making the saves that he's normally making from the point. So what I'm seeing is two really good coaches, and this is a chess match where Montgomery has found different ways to control the neutral zone, and then his team are a bunch of hound dogs when it comes to just winning battles in the offensive zone and forcing the Jets to defend.
You know, I have to it's hard to have this conversation without talking in the framework, not just of this entire season, but the last two playoffs. And the one similarity that we can look at the Vegas series, we can look at the Colorado series, is that much like yesterday's game, when it got going bad for Winnipeg, the game unraveled. These two series in the last two seasons unraveled after, a couple tough games, and they weren't able to get it back. Kevin, the more I think about it, this game on Wednesday night is maybe the biggest gut check that this group has ever had. They're not down 3-1 in this series. They're very much in this series. They have home ice. They're playing at home, something that they earned from their great regular season. But in a lot of ways, if they don't get back to where they were, this will maybe be the biggest lost opportunity considering what they accomplished this year and the way this series started. As someone that, has been in these locker rooms before, what do you make of them not practicing today, just doing an optional? I'm sure there'll be a practice tomorrow. And what needs to happen and what will be happening behind the scenes to sort of calm the team and then ramp it up and get ready to be at their best when they have to be on Wednesday night?
Yep. Man, that's a great observation. Last year, games 3 and 4 against Denver, Jets outscored 11-3. This year, games 3 and 4 against St. Louis outscored 12-3. So it is similar, and it's a similar situation. And so we've talked about this through the regular season where pressure is real. How do you deal with it? There's a lot of pressure now, maybe more than ever, like you said. I look back to the game, I think it was a 5-2 loss against Utah. Man, I can't remember the date, but it was early March, I think, maybe late February. And Arniel, listen, I'm not saying that it's a good thing to embarrass or to call out your team in the media, but sometimes the truth is the truth. And sometimes just being simple and direct is effective. He called the effort embarrassing. And so what does the Winnipeg Jets club do? They go and win 11 straight games after that. Scott Arniel and that whole coaching staff from the ownership all the way down has built a winner. They have, and I have so much respect for what they've done. Easy for me to say, but what I would like to see, and as a player sometimes, say the truth, man. We haven't been good enough. Our goalie needs to be better. Say it, call us out. They want to be held accountable. That's the biggest shift here in the last 3 years where they weren't very good at that 3 years ago, pre-Rick Bowness. They didn't like it. Now it becomes a strength of theirs. We want to be held accountable. We want to be pushed to be better. They haven't been good enough. The goalie hasn't been good enough. Say it. Call them out. just like you did in Utah. And it is what it is. There's already pressure. That's not going to add more pressure. To me, that's just that calms me because it's the truth. And now all we got to do is deal with the truth. That's what I think. And maybe that's happening behind the scenes. I don't know. Day off today is the right thing. Rest. Everybody's got bruises. Tomorrow, it's got to be direct. It's got to be all business. I would like to see a little bit more. This is us. We need to be better. Our goaltender is the second silver medal winning goaltender in this series so far. He needs to be better. We need to be better. Say it, do it.
We can talk a lot about goals that went in and, is it the goalie's fault or was it coverage? You're not winning series like this scoring one or even two in most cases, although they did win. Certainly not when you're giving up 7.
Yeah.
It has seemed like one of the adjustments that St. Louis did, if it was possible, was to ramp up the physicality on the Jets' top players. Scheifele in particular. I mean, just the first period alone, that montage that they showed of the hits that he'd taken, which was kind of funny. I mean, again, very Winnipeg perspective here on this, but when you see a bunch of the things that have been called in this series, and then you see that montage and realize nothing went back, you kind of wonder where some of the calls are, if some of the things that they are calling are going to be. But I think about Scheifele in particular and Morrissey. What are your thoughts on just how much abuse they're taking and what can the Jets do? What can the coaching staff do to maybe have these guys less looking at what is about to hit them and more playing with the puck and doing things that have made them successful?
Well, both factor in. And I think Tom Wilson said yesterday after he had a game-changing hit in that series against Montreal, everybody's hitting, everybody's getting hit. And if you're one of the better players, you're at the top of that list. So what you can't do is avoid contact. That's coming. And it's part of the game plan. And I said this going in where the Jets better get used to this because this is what, if I was a coach, the game plan would be, okay, there's skill. And Ehlers isn't in the lineup, but you look at Kyle Connor, you look at Cole Perfetti, Vladdy Nemestikov in the top 6. A lot of their skill isn't very big. Let's ram them. And Scheifele's a bigger man, but that's coming. I look back to, you remember back in the Stanley Cup Final 2023, Jack Eichel takes that hit from Matthew Tkachuk. It was, man,
yeah.
Nobody thought he was coming back for the rest of the year, let alone in that game. That was devastating. He comes back, gets the second point of that game after that hit, and he goes on 5 more points in the next 3 games to win the Stanley Cup. It was so when you're the best player, you're going to get targeted. You have to find a way to absorb that, play through it, and then give it right back. But some of this also goes to where is the game being played? And if you're always on your heels, always going back to get the puck, you're going to get hit more. And that's where the Jets have to find a way to get through the neutral zone and get heading northward so they can be more physical. But that if you want to be a game changer, and Mark Scheifele has been and can be a game changer, then you have to change games. You have to change a game. And playoffs, you show me one team that has won a Stanley Cup without bruises, bones broken, you're getting hit, you're hitting. You have to find a way to be comfortable in that, take it, and give it. I didn't think that Scheif did enough of that in the last 2 games, particularly in game number 4. He needs to get back to driving to the net, being physical in his own way, dictating versus kind of reacting and always absorbing it.
Kevin Sawyer's with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. 2-2 is the series, heading back to the Peg for game number 5. Wednesday night, late night, Canada Life Center. Kevin, it goes without saying the Jets need more from players not playing on that top line. They've actually had a couple goals from the 4th line that's played very limited minutes. What's not happening with line 2 and line 3 right now? And do you think the coaches might shake things up on those lines as we go into game 5?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. The second line with Vladdy, man, losing Nick was devastating. I mean, that simply put, he added such an element to that line where he backed defense off. He was, that line would gain easy access. And I say easy, most of the time it was because the respect that Nikolai Ehlers commanded. And those other two, Perfetti and Nemestikov, they played off of each other so well. And that's not a slight on Niederreiter or anybody else, but that line had so much chemistry. They went through so much to get to the level they were at. So, number one, that line just simply hasn't been the same without Nikolai Ehlers. Now, you can talk about the lack of goal scoring from Vladimir Nemestikov. When Nick's on that line, he doesn't have to score because he does enough things without the puck or to get the puck into his hands. That hasn't happened. And it's hard for me to understand or to even describe how Adam Lowry's line has been regarded as the best third line in the National Hockey League, maybe for the last 2 years. They're not anymore. And, some of it was, some mediocre play from Nino Niederreiter at times. I know he's elevated. Mason Appleton was playing hurt. His game has been mediocre. Adam's game has been solid right throughout, but that is the identity line, has been the identity line. And you talk about fourth line goals, that would bring a lot for this group right now if they can get the Lowry line to start getting on the forecheck, chipping in some playoff style goals. They haven't had enough of that.
Kevin, we get to Canada Life Center and drop the puck on Monday. What will you be looking for, and how crucial is a good start for the Winnipeg Jets in the Game 5?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think this is the time of year to change anything as far as who they are, the identity in which they play with. They have to be able to. Scott Arniel is going to come back with a game plan. I think it's going to look a lot like period 1 in Game 4. I do. I think that's the recipe where he put forth a plan to kind of take the speed, like I talked about earlier, from St. Louis. They have to be able to stick with that for 60 minutes and be patient in a game where it's not going to be easy. It's going to probably be a tight scoring game if the Jets are on. And that was their strength through the regular season, where they would just outweight teams and they would just stick to their game plan longer and they would win those games. So for me, you have to be comfortable in a low scoring, a tight game, and don't try to win it in a single period. When something goes bad, second goal against that Hellebuyck lets in game number 4, you have to continue to stick with your plan. You can't unravel. So patience and structure, more of what was made this team the President's Trophy winning team in the playoffs. Easier said than done. St. Louis, man, that's a good hockey team, and they have bought into a plan themselves. The Jets are the better team here. The Jets have the better goalie, in my opinion. They just need to be the better team. Hellebuyck needs to be the better goalie. That hasn't happened for long enough stretches of time. Patient, hardworking identity, Game 5.
It goes without saying that all eyes are going to be on Hellebuyck. I know there's a couple people that have suggested starting Comrie, as if. But outside of Connor Hellebuyck, with everything that comes on with being who he is and their position in this season, who are the players that you think Scott Arniel will be leaning on, and who will you be looking at to show that this team is ready to bounce back and to bring that pushback that Bones talked about 2 years ago after that Vegas series?
Yeah, so I think we touched on it here a little bit. I think that you need your best players to be your best players. Scott Arniel said that after game number 4. Robert Thomas and that line is outperforming the Jets' top line. So I said it. I've said it many times. I'll say it again. Mark Scheifele is the most important player for success for this team. He is above Connor Hellebuyck. They need Helly to be better, no doubt. Everybody knows that. I think Scheif has to drive again and get that style of game that we saw in the third period, Game 1, and all of Game 2 back. But in saying that, you look at Josh Morrissey, you look at Dylan Sandberg, you look at Adam Lowry. This team hasn't won because of any one player. It hasn't won just because of their power play or just because Connor Hellebuyck. It has been that conglomeration of the sum of their parts. And so who am I looking for? I'm looking for Mark Scheifele to lead up front. I'm looking for the team game to get back intact for 60 minutes. And Connor Hellebuyck has to be Connor Hellebuyck. That's why this team has won. And they won't win if they can't get back to that team mentality. No one player is going to be able to pull them through this.
Kev, always love having you on the program. This is a fun chat and an important one. I think people really appreciated it. When are you guys on the bird out to the Worlds?
Yeah, we leave on Tuesday. Still haven't got the rosters for that tournament, but Dan and I are looking forward to meeting in Frankfurt, and we'll have a beer there. And before I go, though, I just want to say this one last thing on the Winnipeg Jets. They have earned the respect that they have earned respect here throughout the course of the regular season, and the playoffs is a different animal. And it's a what have you done for me lately? But Connor Hellebuyck is a confident man. This group is a confident group. That they are tight, and they've built a culture here. I think it's important that people don't forget how this has been built over time. And this is when you need that locker room, that camaraderie, that sense of belief. It's easy to look at this saying, oh, it's all falling apart. But I think there's a lot of reasons to feel confident because this group has been through a lot in the last 3 years. It's time to show up or shut up, but they've done a lot to earn backing and trust because this has been an outstanding group over the course of 3 years. But you're right. This next game is probably the biggest game that they've played in a handful of years.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. And listen, if we want to look at recent history, let's think about earlier this season when the team was flying high and they went out and got whooped by Tampa and got crushed by Florida. And what happened? They came back. They had a couple days off in between games and played one of their best games of the season against the Florida Panthers, who are the defending Stanley Cup champs, got the win, and then, kind of took off from there. That's what they need to do. They have done it before, and I think everyone, certainly around these parts, are hoping that we are going to see that. And Kev, I said this to Remis. I don't think I mentioned this on the show today, but as down as people are of these two games, if we wanted the revenge tour, this is the reverse 2019 series, where the road team won the first 5 games, and then the home team finally won in game number 6. Well, now we can see the home team win the first 5 games, and then the road team win number 6. Holding on to that one right now, although I have a feeling this one might take 7.
Listen, I don't want to take you too long, but it's interesting too, kind of serendipitous, because back in 2023, the Boston Bruins set a National Hockey League record with those 65 wins. The head coach, of course, they won the President's Trophy. Head coach, Jim Montgomery. And that team lost in 7 games to the Florida Panthers. So Scott Arniel has the opportunity to flip the script, right? The President's Trophy doesn't mean much right now, but he's facing a coach that's been through it in Jim Montgomery. You know that Scott Arniel, man, he's been through enough too. This game planning in this next game, if both teams are at their best, this is going to be a burner.
No, it will be great. And as you've said before, if you're exercising demons or ghosts, sometimes you got to stare them down straight in the eye. And that, to me, is game 5 for the Winnipeg Jets.
Agreed totally.
Kev, have a safe trip out there. We'll look forward to catching you and Dan on TSN for the Worlds.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks so much for the time. There's Kevin Sawyer with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll have Mike coming up. I see Tico Napoli popped in a super chat. I'm in and out of chat working, but I just want to say, Helly for Hart, and we compared to Hasek. Well, 30 years ago, Hasek had a 70-save playoff shutout. Playoff performing, that's Hart. Helly, wake up. You are capable. I think he probably echoes many of the thoughts. I mean, it's certainly there. We've seen it before. Gotta have it. Got to have it on Wednesday night in Game 5 against the St. Louis Blues. All right, we'll hear a little bit more from the Jets. Mike McIntyre coming up in about 10 minutes or so. But hey, I want to thank Sean over at Let's Do It Travel for his support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Now listen, whether you are making that incredibly important decision on where you'll be spending that precious week of holidays for your all-inclusive coming up, or even more important, making that dream destination wedding a 5 out of 5 stars for you and your new bride, or even planning an amazing sports trip with the boys. Reach out to our pal Sean at Let's Do It Travel to make sure you're getting the most out of your vacation time, making the best decisions, and stretching your dollar further with the best deals around. Follow Let's Do It Travel on Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG, or check them out online at letsdoittravel.com. And here's the kicker, folks. Let's Do It Travel is waiving their booking fees for WST listeners just let Sean know that we sent you. You got a buddy in the travel business with Let's Do It Travel. Get in touch today. Instagram again at Let's Do It Travel WPG, or online at letsdoittravel.com. Huge thanks to Princess Auto, who's busy right now. Of course, the big supporters of Whiteout Mania right now. And the Whiteout Mania took a hit on the weekend, but it'll be ready to roll on Wednesday when the Jets are back at home against the St. Louis Blues. In the meantime, pop by your local Princess Auto store, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or out in Brandon. Get those free lawn signs. And don't forget, you can still enter in Whiteout Mania contest at the Winnipeg Jets website to win some great playoff tickets courtesy of Princess Auto. Princess Auto is, of course, the place where you'll find the biggest and best unique assortment of tools and equipment around, with the best deals to take all care of everything on your list, or maybe start something new. You can also shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Shout out to the gang at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. Fishing season is coming up, although hopefully for the Jets and their fans, we got to push it off a while and stay alive in these Stanley Cup playoffs. But if you're looking for a great world-class fishing opportunity where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality, Aikens Lake is the spot. Go to aikenslake.com for more information on the 2025 fishing season. And check out all their socials at Aikens Lake. And hey, guys, with spring and summer here, we got grads, we got weddings. You may need to up your menswear game. And if you need to do that, get on down to F Apparel at 190 Smith Street downtown. Of course, custom suits starting at just $400, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the best selection of menswear accessories. 2 great promos on right now. Grads, or if you have a grad in the family, new suit, F Apparel will hook you up with a free shirt and tie to go with that beauty for the big day. And of course, if you're in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about a great discount when the wedding party gets their suits at F Apparel. All waiting for you downtown at 190 Smith Street. You can check them out online and make an appointment for a fitting at F. That's EPH apparel.com. All right, listen, Mike McIntyre is going to join us in just a minute. I want to get to 2 clips before we bring in Mike, and it's going to be 5 and 6 from Arniel, Reem. Obviously, Gabriel Velarde's out of the non-contact jersey. This is what Arnie had to say after the game when Mike's colleague Ken Wiebe asked him about the lineup, Velarde, and of course Stanley being out.
Just a couple of quick things with the lineup. How close was Velarde to being a player?
He was a game-time decision, so he's closer. He's off the injured reserve. He's close now. So
Just a quick one on defense. I know you said you had a couple guys banged up. Was Logan one of those guys?
That's where we are with this series. So I'm not talking injuries, but that's they're probably having the same issues over there. You know, your guys that you play these heavy games like this, guys are getting banged up. So you know, we're just looking at, you know, making sure we got people out there that can give us what they can.
All right, so listen, I get it. I mean, we always want all the information we can get from the coaches throughout the season. I think Arnie's been pretty forthcoming most of the time this season. Not surprised we're not getting an open book right now, considering where the stakes are right now. Here's one more from the coach before we bring in Mike. Here's Arniel on returning home for Game 5 and his confidence in his goaltender, Connor Hellebuyck.
Oh, I'm 100% confident in Connor Hellebuyck. You know, his resume speaks for itself. At the end of the day, we need to be better in front of him. We need to let him see some pucks. There's a couple there we didn't get to see. There's things that we have to do to help him. He knows that he has to do things to help us, and that's how it's been all year long. So we're all in this together. You know what? It's just a situation that we got to put our best foot forward when we go home. Like I mentioned, we worked our tails off for 82 games to get home ice advantage. Well, it's a best of 3 now. Now we got to make sure we take care of business.
All right, so there's the coach after the game yesterday. We're just in the process of getting some of the heli for today. We'll have that for you a little bit later on. We're going to bring in Mike McIntyre right now, and this segment brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. Take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. And can we talk about how good this truck looks? Anywhere it goes, it can be turning heads. The Toyota Tundra available now from $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid available as well. Visit shoptoyota.ca. All right, let's bring in Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. And Mike, wow, what a difference a few days makes. This series is all tied up, and as it has been referred to in the chat, it feels like the Blues are leading the series 2-2.
Oh, let me unmute him. My bad. Okay, you're good now, Mike. Sorry, start again.
Kind of feels like the Jets are fighting two opponents here, Huss. The St. Louis Blues and their own demons. I know some fans will probably say, and the referees. That's what people always say, right? No, the referees are not impacting this series in any tangible way. But it does feel like the Jets are in their own heads again. And how could they not be? I mean, certainly for the players that have been here the last couple of years, and there's a lot of them, I imagine there's a bit of a sense of here we go again. A little bit different this year. Of course, they won the first two games as opposed to just the first game. One thing, though, Huss, that this Jets team just seems to have a really tough time doing is once the proverbial ball starts rolling downhill, they can't seem to stop it. And, their record after a playoff loss is just horrible. And so they can't seem to stop the bleeding. And, what starts off as maybe just a small wound turns into something much bigger. Now, we've heard all year, this is a different team. They've learned lessons from the past, calluses and all that. We've now reached the point where it's time to kind of put the money where the mouth is. And I'll say this, Huss, we are going to learn a ton about this Jets team over the next 4 to 6 days. We know the series is ending either Friday night or Sunday, one way or another. So where the Jets are, come Friday night or Sunday, whatever time that game would be, if there is a Sunday game, again, by the time the dust settles, we're going to have learned a ton about this group one way or the other. And you're right. I mean, this has been a series of momentums. Obviously, the Jets were feeling good after rattling off 2 wins at home. Now it feels like the Blues have all the momentum. And this is where I would suggest maybe the Jets will throw a little shout out to Rush for having a concert tomorrow night, which means Canada Life Center wasn't available. I imagine if you're the Blues, you want to keep playing like ASAP. You're the Jets, you probably don't mind having an extra day, although it does mean an extra day of kind of thinking about the predicament you're in. But when you talk about momentum, sometimes, maybe the best thing to stop momentum is just the passage of time. And obviously the Jets have the extra day here to try and fix what's broken right now.
For the record, the concert is Bush, not Rush.
Oh, right.
Tomorrow.
I had the Ush.
Yeah,
right?
you're 75% correct on
Whoops.
that one. But yeah, no, you're right. And listen, I think St. Louis did a good job of resetting and getting refocused on the long break between games 2 and game 3. And listen, everything that they did seemed to put them in a position to be at their best. I mean, you think about the start that they had in game 3. I mean, you could argue that they won that game in the first 3 minutes, Mike. Yeah. Even though, it took a little longer for them to get that third one and never really look back. I had thought that maybe the fact that the Jets got whooped the way they did in game 3 with the extra day, the noon game, this might actually been a perfect opportunity for Winnipeg to come back in and just completely flush that one, but they weren't able to do it. And now it gets compounded to your example, of previous playoffs when you have back-to-back games that were that ugly and that so far away from what we've seen from the Jets for most of this year. Is it fair for me to say that Wednesday night in downtown Winnipeg in Game 5 is the biggest gut check and test that this group has maybe ever been in? And it could define them.
It is. I was thinking the same thing. It's, there's been bigger games, I guess, in the sense that they made it to the Western Conference Final in 2018. So you could say all of those games were quote unquote bigger games because, they were that much closer to the Stanley Cup, which was the ultimate goal and still is. But it does feel like, with what this team has done in the regular season, with what it's been through in past playoffs, with its doubling down on its, core and the commitment to the core. And you look at, most important players, starting with Connor Hellebuyck, it does feel like this is a franchise defining, altering potential game. Now, that being said, the Jets come out and play really, really good on Wednesday and lose a hard-fought game. The series isn't over. Some will declare it over, I suppose, at that point. We know the Jets can win 2 games in a row. They did it to start the series. They had lots of 2-game winning streaks during the regular season. So I think it's almost more about how they play. Like if they come out and look like a shell of themselves again, like they have for, I'll say 4.5 of the 6 periods in St. Louis, because I really liked what the Jets did. And I almost feel like that game was lost yesterday, Huss, by the fact that the Jets went into the intermission tied. That late goal by the Blues were the second best team on the ice by a considerable margin in that first 20 minutes yesterday. The fact that they escaped that period tied, you could feel that, okay, that's going to give them a boost, and it did. And I almost feel like the Jets sagged from that late goal, because they
same thing happened in Game 2.
It did,
and they came out and seemed to, and I don't know whether that maybe is a little bit of the home crowd getting behind them and pushing them forward, but yeah, I'm with you. They certainly did sag, and to me, the goal that started the unraveling was the Tucker goal that put them up 2-1. And you can say, we should have been up 1-0. The minute all of a sudden you're playing behind in an environment like that, it compounds it. And, listen, we've spent a lot of time talking about Connor Hellebuyck, and I've heard people talk about the Shen goal that was won. To me, and we just got into this with Kevin Sawyer, the one that I think you have to have is the first one.
Yes.
The second one, I guess, but the first one of the second period. But as I said, I needed to take a break from social media after the game. But the one thing I did put up was at the end of the second period, what a deflating 10 minutes that was, because it did unravel on them. One got through that, more often than not isn't going in. And then the final 2 goals were, there is something to be said from what Scott Arniel said about coverage. We can talk about, Braden Shen scoring from where that he did. There wasn't a single Jet player that laid a hand on him the entire time, including on that sort of standoff with Hellebuyck in front of the net. To me, that's inexcusable. And then it just goes from bad to worse when a puck hits off Neil Pionk's ass, who's a little bit behind the guy trying to clear him out, and it goes in. There's some tough lessons to learn. Those were all readily available after Game 3, though, Mike. So, it is incumbent on so many aspects of their game to be much better than they were in Game 3 and 4, and get back to where they were after 2 pretty impressive home wins against a very good team that was right up for the challenge in 1 and 2.
Connor Hellebuyck had a lot of really interesting things to say today. I dare say it was one of his most candid, revealing chats. Hellebuyck normally doesn't give a whole lot of cliches, tends to say a lot of the same things, but there was some revealing things saying. One of the ones, aside from his own play, that I really found interesting, Huss, is he talked about how there's a playbook out there on how to beat us and how to play well against us. And he was talking about it in the context of what the Avalanche did last playoffs against a similar Jets team that won the Jennings, the most defensive, stingiest team in the league. And of course, the Avalanche they were scoring goals in their sleep in the playoffs last year, and all of a sudden now the Blues look like they can score at will. And if you do almost an overlay of a lot of those goals that the Avalanche scored and now the Blues, like, it is eerily similar, eerily familiar. And I think we would all agree the Blues don't have the same potent offense that the Avalanche did. They certainly don't have a Cale Makar on their back end, but you've got guys like Cam Fowler that are looking like Cale Makar all of a sudden because of what they're able to do from the blue line in. And to me, that's where this series has really turned. It's the Jets' inability to quite literally get to the point. They are not doing a very good job of getting in shooting lanes, of taking away that initial shot. And we saw it was the Tucker goal, right, where Brandon Tanev is trying to get out there to the point, and he's a little late, and he actually probably serves as a pretty good screen on Connor Hellebuyck, and so does Neil Pionk, who I think was the net front guy. And you want Connor Hellebuyck to make that save, but when you looked at the replays kind of from the goalie's perspective, it's like, well, I don't know that he saw any of that puck at all. And it's a fraction of a second, right? Like that can make a difference there between a block shot that goes the other way or a goal. And in this case, a critical goal. So yeah, I mean, Hellebuyck acknowledged there's a blueprint, there's a game plan on how to beat these Jets. And the Avalanche executed it perfectly, certainly after game 1 last year. And it seems like the Blues have taken a page out of that playbook. And now the question becomes, can Scott Arniel and company make their own adjustments? And so far, the answer is no. And that's where this series ultimately now comes down to. Because if you're the Blues, you're going to keep trying to do what you've been so effective at doing here in games 3 and 4.
Well, and one of those things they've been doing is making life miserable for the top players on the Jets. I mean, Scheifele took a ton of abuse in the game last night. I mean, Kyle Connor, they've been all over him. And Josh Morrissey, every time he's taken the puck, they are trying to get their pound of flesh. It was interesting talking to Kevin, who really did sort of single out Scheifele as the most important player on the Winnipeg Jets. And I think if you look at the production we've seen so far in this series, the story checks out. Mark's had a real rough time and a rough run for the last little bit. Is this just a matter of just taking it, pressing through, and being committed to not letting it get to him?
Yeah, and that's where I think home ice can really be an advantage, as it's supposed to be, because clearly the Jets weren't able to get the matchups they necessarily wanted in St. Louis. And I think it's why we've seen kind of 2 different Mark Scheifeles, right? We saw the game 1 and 2 version, and now we've seen the game 3 and 4 version. I think a huge part of that is the Blues getting the matchups. I think another part of it, to a degree, Huss, is Winnipeg's power play has been so ineffective that, I mean, if you're the Blues, you don't mind risking crossing a line by giving that extra shove or maybe a late run or whatever it is, or a whack here, whack there, because you're pretty confident right now that your penalty kill can handle whatever the Jets power play might throw at you. So that makes every Blues player feel a little more encumbered, if you will, to maybe take some liberties. And that's where, to me, like the return of a Gabe Vilardi, if he can be back for game 5, that could make a huge difference. Because I really think if there's one area that Gabe Vilardi can help right away, it's going to be on the power play. And, certainly if you're the Blues, you might have to rein it in a little bit. I mean, I don't think home crowds factor into this as well, right? Like, crowds get riled up. The players know what gets their crowd responding. So a big hit on a guy like Scheifele, I mean, that makes the place go bananas. You don't necessarily see that or have that on the road. So I think Scott Arniel is going to want to get back to some of the matchups he had in games 1 and 2 that I would say Mark Scheifele was taking advantage of. But I'll say this, Huss, Scott Arniel said it post-game yesterday in St. Louis, and he said something similar again this afternoon here in Winnipeg. after the optional skate. He basically challenged his best players to match what the Blues' best players, and he's essentially saying our best have been second best against theirs. And he said it about his best players. He said it about his goaltender. He flat out said today, our goaltender has been the second best goalie these last 2 games. And he said our role players, our meat and potato guys, our bottom 6 guys in depth D, they've been second best as well. So he's throwing out the challenge, and I think a guy like Mark Scheifele, he's going to be up for the challenge for sure. And I think the Jets will be looking to do some things to maybe make his life a bit easier in terms of matchups. And then if you get a Gabe Vilardi back, I think that's another part of it right now. The Jets don't really have any secondary scoring. You can focus on Scheifele and Connor. You take them off their game. Who's burning you right now on the Jets? I love Vlad Nemestikov, the player. He's got 1 goal in 32 games now, and he's your second line center. And Cole Perfetti's been, I think, terrific in these playoffs. Poor kid can't buy a goal. He's got a couple of assists, but again, Nino Niederreiter's gone ice cold. There's no secondary scoring happening. So if you're the Blues, it's almost like the game plan to a degree against the Oilers. If you could contain, McDavid and Draisaitl, you got a really good chance of beating them. Well, right now it's kind of Scheifele and Connor. They are the offense for the Jets. They got to get some secondary scoring to kind of take some of the load off those guys.
Well, I'm with you. Listen, Perfetti probably had 3 glorious chances in the 2 games in St. Louis and just wasn't able to finish. You got to make the most of those chances, especially because they've been sort of few and far in between. My big concern was something that I never thought I'd be saying around the playoffs, and that's the Lowry line. We have not seen playoff Lowry as of yet. Game 5 would be a great time for that to come to fruition. I didn't mind the move of Morgan Barron there yesterday. I think he's probably the one forward outside the top line that has been rolling and creating things and using his speed and using his body. But you can talk bottom 6. It's really the middle 6 right now for Mike, for the Winnipeg Jets, that is not getting the results and is on the wrong end of the ledger, in addition to the first line being shut down with all the physicality they've been getting from St. Louis.
Yeah, agreed. And again, not to put too much weight on Gabe Vilardi's shoulders here, but I got to think his return, and we'll see what Scott Arniel does with the lines. I think one thing, I'd be surprised if it doesn't reunite the Niederreiter, Lowry, Appleton trio on that third line. Whether or not Gabe Vilardi goes right back with Scheifele and Connor and bumps Iafallo down maybe to the second line, or if Vilardi goes in Niederreiter's spot with Nemestikov and Perfetti, I do think Niederreiter, Lowry, Appleton will probably be together in game 5. And I think for the Jets, when Lowry has been at his best, you could argue when he's with Nick Ehlers, he's been pretty good too, but they don't have Ehlers as an option. So I think we probably see that line, and the Jets really will lean on those guys again. But you're right. Lowry, we're kind of waiting for the playoff performer that we know he can be, and his line mates as well, to shine through. And certainly on the road, they weren't very effective. But that's a long list. There's a whole lot of guys that fell into that category as well. So, yeah, home ice will certainly sway the matchup game back into Winnipeg's favor. And this is where, Scott Arniel, there's got to be some pressure on his shoulders. You win the President's Trophy. You win the Jennings Trophy. You've raised the bar so high on your group. And Scott Arniel, like he said today, he was asked about kind of fans who might be saying, here we go again. And he had a really kind of interesting and revealing answer to that. And certainly he's saying that it's not something he's spending 1 second focusing on, but he's a Winnipegger. He's aware of the history here. He knows how passionate fans are. This has got to be, I'm sure, keeping him up at night. And he's up against a heck of a head coach. Jim Montgomery knows what he's doing. He's a guy who tends to push all the right buttons, certainly pushed the right buttons when he joined the Blues mid-season and orchestrated that big turnaround. And, certainly after games 1 and 2, we've seen the Blues make some real positive adjustments. Now can the Jets respond? They haven't yet. History tells us they have a hard time doing that. Time to rewrite some history.
Yeah, no doubt about that. The history they'll want to rewrite is what happened in game 1 and 2. Not too long ago. As we said, what a difference a week or so makes on a long, drawn-out series. But it was pointed out that both Mark Scheifele's goals in this series came off things other than his stick. And it was getting those pucks in and around the blue paint and the areas. And even last night's goal on Kyle Connor started as a bit of a goalmouth scramble, albeit he popped that in. To me, the biggest change in this series is the way that the St. Louis Blues completely flipped the script on the Jets controlling the blue paint and that area in front of the net for the first couple of games. And, you want to help your goaltender out? Let him see the puck. You want to make it difficult from Jordan Binnington? Get in front of him. Be there to bang in rebounds. And to me, that battle for the ice in front of the goaltenders, to me, is the battle that was won by Winnipeg in game 1 and 2, was won significantly by the Blues in game 3 and 4. And if the Jets can't get back onto the right side of the ledger, barring Hellebuyck just all of a sudden stealing a game, it's going to be tough to turn this one around. And that, to me, is the job right out of the gate. Have a good start. Get the crowd into it. Remember the team that you have been all season long and get back to that, and not the team that got put into a locker by the Blues for the last 6 periods.
With a wedgie and a swirly as well, for good measure. Yeah, Huss, let me throw this at you. What would you do for the blue line? We've seen the Jets have now used 8 defensemen already in this series, right? We saw Colin Miller get in the game on game 3. And, of course, Dylan DeMello was sick, so he couldn't get in the lineup. So that one was a necessary change because, it's not like they took DeMello out by choice. But then, interesting, we saw Logan Stanley parked yesterday and Hayden Fleury. And, I think from my perspective, the idea that, talk about matchup, Schenn and Stanley, who I thought were pretty good, not great, but games 1 and 2, certainly there was some good to their game. Logan Stanley with that massive hit on Jordan Kyrou, which I really thought in game 2 kind of silenced Kyrou. And quite honestly, Kyrou hasn't been all that noticeable even in games 3 and 4 when the Blues have won. So, but on the road, again, when you can't control the matchup, Schenn and Stanley, that I don't, you couldn't have those two out there together, and Scott Arniel didn't yesterday. So I'm curious what they do for the blue line. Did they just go back to did they go back to Schenn and Stanley now? They obviously won games 1 and 2 with those guys on the back end. And again, home ice, you have that matchup. You can try and control who they're out against. But I think we would agree, Luke Schenn's had a really tough series. He's been out of position a few times, had some tough plays. He's a guy, obviously, you want him for his shot blocking ability, and that's something I think the Jets need to get more traffic on some of those Blues shots. So I am curious, I'm probably leaning that they would go back to Schenn and Stanley with the idea that, okay, we're going to roll out our game 1 and 2 lineup here back on home ice and try and recreate all that. But they obviously have some options. I actually thought, as bad as kind of everyone was in game 3, I actually really liked Colin Miller's game.
Me too.
To the point that I would have considered finding a way to keep him in yesterday. I also like Hayden Fleury in that he's got the mobility and whatnot. But, taking Miller out that was a tough one for me. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how the Jets play this. I don't think they'll do this because they haven't all year. You could also go 11-7 if you wanted. If you want to get your top skaters, your top forwards, a little more ice time, you could go 11-7, and then you're double shifting some guys, and again trying to get some favorable matchups. You could also then have some different looks. You've got puck mover. You could have a mobile puck mover like a Fleury, but also some bigger guys like Stanley and Shen, but manage minutes. I don't know. I'm really curious to see how the Jets put this lineup together, including, Gabe Vilardi, who comes out. If Vilardi's in, we assume it's one of Anderson, Dolan, or Gustafsson. Both of those guys have made pretty strong cases for staying in the lineup. That fourth line's been really good. Someone's coming out, though, and we'll just have to wait till probably morning skate or maybe even pregame warm-up Wednesday night to really know those answers.
I'm with you. I like what Colin Miller did in game number 3. Put it this way, if it's up to me, Fleury's out. Stanley's in. And I would definitely be here for the argument of actually giving Shen a night off and going with Miller and Stanley as your 5-6 pairing. I think Miller adds something with that shot of his.
Yes.
And listen, we're going to need to have some big slappers going in and around the net, creating rebounds, hopefully, maybe even one going in. I think you're going to want one of Shen or Stanley in the lineup. And listen, I know they invested quite a bit in Shen, and the early results were really good, but Game 3 was an absolute disaster. And, Game 4 wasn't a heck of a lot better, not necessarily for him personally, but for the team overall. So it'll be, tomorrow's practice, I think, is going to really be an interesting one in that, where does Gabe fit in? Who's he skating with? And do we get any indication of who we might see on the blue line in game number 5? One thing that I will say, I don't think that this series is going to be decided on who the 6th defenseman is.
No.
It's going to be where Scheifele and Connor, Josh Morrissey, Neil Pionk, and without a doubt, Connor Hellebuyck in that net. Can he rise to the challenge and, be the better goaltender on game number 5?
I was just going to say one lineup decision we can put to rest right now. Huss, Connor Hellebuyck, not Eric Comrie, will be starting game 5. Was it Biz who I think put the call out on Twitter, X, yesterday saying, you have to start Comrie, right? And
I didn't see Biz do it. I heard Rennie do it last night, and I didn't know whether he was joking or whether he was being serious. But, hey, everyone's got their own takes. That is not one... just for a minute, imagine the fallout of that.
Yeah.
It's 2-2 in a series, and the guy that just this morning was nominated for the Vezina, you're going to put in Eric Comrie, who has 2 playoff games, both in relief in this series. That would be a level of panic that no head coach in the National Hockey League would do. If a terrible game, you want to talk about it in game 6, with your life on the line, maybe. It's a non-starter for Wednesday night.
I still think Connor Hellebuyck could give up another 7 or 6 on Wednesday, and he's starting game 6. You're going down. If you're going down, you're going down with the captain, the proverbial captain of the ship. You're right, because, again, this would have reverberations so far beyond just a one playoff series. It's a non-starter. It's I guess a fun topic for some to debate. Connor Hellebuyck hasn't been great. I don't know. I'm watching a lot of these goals, and it's deja vu. It's of recent playoff series, but I don't see him getting a whole lot of help. And it is a collective. The team has to be better in front of him, and he's got to be better. And he flat out admitted that today. For folks that haven't seen or heard his comments, you'll definitely want to catch them because he was quite open and candid, but also cocky. One of his comments, Huss, that stood out is he said that I've studied goaltending more than anybody in the whole world. He said that he and that he knows what it takes. He didn't even say it wasn't even the NHL. It was the entire world. He opened the world up and said that there's nobody that studied harder than him. So he also, by the way, insisted that he's having fun. He doesn't look like he's having a whole lot of fun. I don't imagine hearing "We want Connor" chants for 2 straight games was a whole lot of fun. He says he's having fun. He said this is the best time of the year, and he said he's ready to bring it in Game 5.
Well, you know what? Listen, I'd rather hear that than someone that, was obviously completely rattled. But listen, it's interesting, and we're going to have these clips like right away. It's talk is whatever. It's what we see on Friday night from 37, as well as the 18 guys in front of them. Mike, yes. Great stuff. You're going to be in STL on Friday night?
I am, yes. And I'm already having flashbacks, Huss. I was there in St. Louis, Game 6, 2019. I didn't know it at the time.
This is the reverse series, though, Mike. This is the reverse series. The home team
are winning. Exactly.
Will win the first 5 games, and then the road team will win Game 6. The exact opposite. That's what. Listen, you want to start the revenge tour? Do the opposite of everything you did before. So this is the 2019 version. Fingers crossed.
Would Dustin Byfuglien then come out of retirement since that was his last game as a Winnipeg Jet? We didn't know it at the time, of course, but it was. So, yeah, I'll be on the scene in St. Louis, and I mean, someone will have a chance to wrap the series up that night. Obviously, Jets fans hope it's Winnipeg. Wednesday should be a doozy down at the downtown rink. So,
Mike, thanks so much. We'll stay in touch. Maybe catch up later on this week. Appreciate you jumping on today, buddy.
Thanks. Take care.
All right, there's Mike McIntyre. Craziness at Royal Sports as of late. Obviously, the huge run and all the whiteout gear has been a big part of it. But spring is here as well, which means a ton of new bikes coming in and some great deals on bikes as well, as they make room for all the new stock. Not to mention soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, everything that you're going to be doing now that it's nice outside. They got you covered when it comes to Royal Sports. Also have those Central Division champion tees, the President's Trophy tees. I know everyone wanted a Stanley Cup tee. I'm not sure whether that's coming in right now, but tons of great Jets merch. And for you Ovi fans, a special commemorative T-shirt for the great 8 record-setting goal this year. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Well, thankfully, I think we've got a couple days to breathe before getting back to the rink for game number 5. We've got a couple games tonight. Good doubleheader. In the National Hockey League. We'll kind of dive into the odds later on. You'll be very surprised as well to find out what the odds are in the series for the Winnipeg Jets and the rest of these series that are tied at 2-2. But I think you'll be surprised maybe in a good way. It might give you a little bit of confidence. Tonight, though, we've got Lightning Panthers, Avalanche Stars. Great night to pop in and check out Boston Pizza's playoff feature menu. The Double Trouble Nachos, the Canadian All-Star Poutine, the Scoville Showdown for you crazies that love it hot. Of course, pizza flights, wing flights, and the new Triple Pep Pizza and the new Wingman Pizza, all waiting for you tonight at your local Boston Pizza. I think we all maybe needed a drink or two after yesterday afternoon's game. Always there for you, Winnipeg. Here's a shout out to our favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
Train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right. Okay, so we've got still lots to do today on this program. We're going to bring in Kyler Filewich, Winnipeg native, fresh off the NCAA March Madness experience, signing with the Winnipeg Sea Bears. And for everybody that has entered the playoffs in the PEG contest, we've got a special marble race coming up in a few minutes with 20 names that have been drawn from all of the entries, and that winner will be throwing the whites on to be part of the whiteout on Friday night, courtesy of our partners at Coolbet and your boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk. But listen, we've talked a lot about Connor Hellebuyck today. We needed to hear what Helly had to say today. Remis has got the clips for us. This is Connor Hellebuyck just in the last hour, 2 hours down from Canada Life Center. He started off talking about this series so far.
Yeah, I think, they played 2 good games. That being said, we played 2 good games at home too. So at the end of the day, we're in a good spot and the best of 3. And I like our odds, and we got home ice advantage. So that's where our mindset is moving forward. And, that's all we can go. That's all we can do.
All right. How much is experience a factor heading into Game 5, Connor?
You got to think experience plays. That being said, I think we're just worried about ourselves and playing our game, playing jet hockey, what we've done all year long. It's not like it's foreign to us. We know how we want to do it, and we know how to get there. So I think our goal is just get back to 60 minutes of our game, and we've shown spurts of it, and we know we can do it. So it's not like it's just going to come out of nowhere. It's just a matter of bringing it.
All right, more from Connor Hellebuyck, and this is the Vezina Trophy nominee on his play so far in the postseason.
Well, you don't love giving up that many goals, but we're 2-2 in the series. That's all that matters, winning the next one. Am I going to be better? I am going to be better. I've studied goaltending extremely hard. I've probably studied the most out of anyone in this world. So I know what to do and how to get my best game. So that's what I'm looking forward to do. And, I get 2 days here and, time to bring it in Game 5.
Right, that was the clip that Mike was talking about, Reem. And I'll tell you what, even in times like this, I'd way rather him be himself with unwavering confidence, claiming to have studied goaltending more than anybody on planet Earth, than have a guy that looks completely shook and not knowing what is to come. This is the way that he's built. And as I said, he needs to be confident. And if he's wavering from that, I think that is a really, really bad sign. And, you can't be doom and gloom at 2-2, even if it's been pretty easy from a fan perspective to feel that way after 2 pretty dispiriting losses.
Honestly, it's a surprise in my world too. When I'm watching my game, and there's a certain way that I need it to look, and I want it to look, and you don't. It'd be crazy to go that many regular season games and all of a sudden switch something up in the playoffs. You don't win 47 games and then come to the playoffs and switch everything up. No, I know how it needs to look, and I like a lot of things. I'm not going to go and make huge changes. That being said, I'm going to be better. That's my job, and that's the foot that I'm putting forward. I can't be giving up this many goals, and we're a team in here. We're not pointing fingers at anyone. We're going to do this together, and I keep saying it, we're in a good spot. 2-2 in a series is pretty much the entire West is 2-2 in the series. So I'm really looking forward to the next one, and it's playoff style hockey, and it's fun. This is what's fun, and you gotta weather those ups and downs. And it's easy to say, or outside looking in, we're down right now, but I don't view it like that. Whatever happens, put it behind you, move on to the next one.
Yeah, all about Game 5. Embrace the challenge. There is Connor Hellebuyck. Now, we've talked about this with Kevin and with Mike. I mean, there are some eerie similarities to Games 3 and 4 in this series as to what came undone last year against the Colorado Avalanche. Hellebuyck was asked about how many of these goals look so similar to what happened in the Colorado series last year.
Yeah, I think there is a blueprint of how teams want to play us. That being said, it's not like we don't have an answer for it. We're going to continue playing our game, and we're going to play for a full 60. I believe in that game. And I've played in this league enough to know that game can work and it can win. The worst thing we can do is go try to tinker and mess what we have and what works for us. We just need to bring it for 60 minutes, and every single guy in this room puts a little bit more and is a little bit better, and we're going to be just fine.
All right, Connor Hellebuyck from earlier today. We got a couple more clips, and listen, it is a team game. Helly was asked about what he's seeing in front of him.
Yeah, I believe everyone in this room. I believe in everyone. I think they're incredible hockey players. I mean, we don't do what we did through 82 games and then all of a sudden lose it. No, you don't. They're a good team over there. They got really hot, and it was crazy for us to think ever that this was going to be an easy series or a sweep, and no one did think that. So now in the position we are, it's just on to the next one. This is fun playoff hockey. I mean, what does it matter if you lose 2-1 or 6-1? At the end of the day, it's a loss, and you move on. And getting back to our game is what we want to do in here, and that's our plan for 60 minutes.
All right, and one more from Helly. Listen, I know fans are trying to deal with the mental ups and downs of the playoffs. Here's Helly on just dealing with the mental side of the game and the pressure of this time of year.
Yeah, I think playoff time, that's one of the most important attributes you can have, is being strong between the ears. You don't want to go into a game playing with fear. If you play with fear, that's when you start actually making mistakes and wanting things back. We go out, we play our game, and you continue to be better every single shift and every single game and every single day. And that's my mindset moving forward, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, there you have it, Hellebuyck from earlier today. And honestly, that's the first time I had heard this. Love it. Love that he talked today. I think that was important. As Kevin said, listen, this is 2-2 in this series. I mean, they didn't just get swept. They're right in it. They've got a home game in a decisive Game 5. You have to put your best foot forward. You have to feel confidence in yourself, and you got to feel confidence in your team. As we've said, it's great to say that. We got to see it on Wednesday night. But I think like many of the people, yes, T Winnipeg 204, Helly talking us off the ledge. I think that was exactly what I think some people needed to hear. Again, none of it's going to matter when the puck drops, but this team needs to refocus on what got them to this point in the regular season, to a 2-0 lead in the playoffs, and get ready for what is going to be the biggest dogfight of this series in game number 5. It was a big weekend out at Breezy Bend. Would have liked to have maybe had a tea time yesterday afternoon to try and take my mind off the game. But it's good news. The course has wintered absolutely beautifully, and it is open now for Breezy members, and we're looking forward to welcoming the entire province to Breezy Bend later on in August this year, I should say, for the 2025 Manitoba Open, which will certainly be set up shop and doing shows for. If you're interested in making Breezy Bend a long-term golfing home for you and your family, talk to our friend Corey Johnson at the clubhouse about getting on the waiting list. You can also find more about Breezy Bend at breezybend.ca. It's the weird week on the PGA Tour. It was the pairs event, if you will, the Zurich Classic. And Andrew Novak and Ben Griffin were the winners at 28 under par. We did have the Canadian tandem of Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin finish at 22 under, tied for 12th, along with the defending champions Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry. Lots of great golf coming up as we get ready for more majors, the Canadian Open, and of course the Manitoba Open at Breezy Bend later on this summer. Okay, so we've got the special marble race coming up. 20 names drawn from all of the entries for the playoffs in the peg contest with Coolbet. We will do that. We will get to the Coolbet lines. I promised you some very interesting series price numbers on the 2-2 series, including Winnipeg and St. Louis. You're going to want to hear that. But just to cleanse ourselves for a moment and take a breath away from the stress of this first-round series with the Jets and the Blues, let's welcome in Kyler Filewich from Winnipeg, the newest member of the Sea Bears. Well, some great news on the local basketball scene. We were talking a lot about Kyler Filewich and Wofford going to the NCAA tournament. We're going to be talking a lot more about the local product because today he signed with the Winnipeg Sea Bears, and Kyler Filewich joins us now on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Kyler, congratulations and welcome to WST.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
This, we've spoken with other local players before that have been involved in the Sea Bears, and it always seems like it's such a special opportunity to be able to play here in the summers in front of friends and family. I guess first up, just your reaction to inking with the local club and your level of excitement to play here in Winnipeg this summer.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Kind of like how you touched on it. It'll be super nice to be in front of friends and family. Something I haven't really had the chance to do recently with going to school in the States. Not having my friends and family able to make too many of the games. So being in front of them while they'll be able to be at a lot of the home games is going to be really exciting. And just the community and the fan support the Sea Bears have in general, I'm super excited to play for them.
Yeah, have you been noticing what's been happening back of the last couple summers when the Sea Bears were born and the incredible support they've had, knowing that might be a possibility when you were finished your NCAA career?
For sure, yeah. Like my family, the past 2 years has had season tickets, so I'm not home too often in the summers, but I'll come home for a few weeks at a time. And when I do, I love to come out and see the games. So getting that opportunity and being able to actually play, it's something I'm super excited for.
Hey, I got to ask you this as a fan going there for the first time. What was your first reaction to what you'd seen the Sea Bears building here in Winnipeg?
Oh, it was awesome. Like the first game, I remember it was packed and super exciting game of basketball. Everyone was super engaged. It was just super cool to see something like that. Having grown up with not really a team like that basketball wise that the city could really get behind, and showing up and making the debut that the Sea Bears did, it was super cool to see, and that's kind of what got me very intrigued from the get-go.
Well, it's a great season to be here too. Excuse me, because of course the championship weekend is going to be here in Winnipeg. So we know we'll have the Sea Bears participating, but looking forward to a great season. One of the most unique things I've found about the CEBL is the target score. Mm-hmm. The Elam ending. Have you played that at all before in your basketball career?
I did once for just a little. I think the Run It Back tournament they had in Winnipeg. I played in 2 summers ago, and it was target score. It's super cool. Like it's kind of just like playing a game of pickup with your friends. Going first to 11 or whatever. So that's something. Obviously, I haven't at a high level played in with rules like that, but. I feel like it adds a lot to the game. It makes the endings very exciting. So I'm excited to get to play.
Fresh off the NCAA tournament, Kyler Filewich is on his way to his hometown Winnipeg Sea Bears. Kyler, for folks that are not familiar with your basketball journey, tell us a little bit about picking up the game here in Winnipeg and the long road that's taken you back home.
For sure. Yeah. It's definitely been a long road. I played a lot of sports growing up, but both my parents played basketball at University of Manitoba. So they kind of knew I'd get into basketball, and I did later on, and when I was about 11 or 12. And I really, really picked it up and started to enjoy it more than any other sport, kind of from the jump. So I played at Vincent Massey. I was fortunate enough we won the provincial championship in 2019, which was super cool. Then I did 1 year at Orangeville Prep right outside Toronto, a post-grad year, before going to Southern Illinois University for 2 years. And transferred to Wofford for 3. And it was there the past 3 years. And it was a super great experience. I loved it there. As you talked about, we made March Madness this year, which was really awesome. And so it's been a great journey, but I'm super glad. It's been a while since I've been back playing in Winnipeg. And, I love the city, love the community. So it's going to be something I've been thinking about for a while, and I'm super happy that it worked out.
What were the 3 years down in Wofford like? The Carolinas really seems to be the hotbed of college basketball, and seems like you were right in there in a real competitive program and conference.
Yeah. Our conference, the Southern Conference, was great. We had the chance to play against some bigger schools, in the ACC, SEC. So it was super cool to see that. Wofford's a smaller school, but it was a great experience in terms of both academics and basketball. I got along really well with a lot of my teammates. So I really enjoyed my time there. It's super cool. It's a lot different than Winnipeg in some ways, but it has its similarities as well. So It was a very nice experience, but I'm also super glad to be home.
We were talking to Simon Hildebrand a couple months ago before the tournament, and we were asking about this high point that he was at, and it seemed like it was like Disneyland for university students. How would you compare what you're doing at Wofford to that? That looked like something out of the future or something. To be perfectly honest, that campus.
Yeah, I'd actually been to High Points campus. We played a game there before Simon got there, actually. And yeah, it's an extremely nice campus. It's kind of similar to Wofford. Wofford's a bit of a smaller school. We have like under 2,000 students.
Oh wow!
But yeah, so it's very nice. You know, pretty good academics. A nice campus lifestyle. So it's something pretty cool. It's different than like what you'd see here at like a University of Manitoba or Winnipeg or anywhere else around here. But it was a very cool experience, and I really enjoyed it.
Now, you ended up going to the tournament, as you mentioned. Tell us about the season and the stakes in that tournament to qualify to get in, and what the week was like around campus, around your school, and the town before you actually played in the round of 64.
Yeah, you know, our season was kind of up and down. We had super high expectations for ourselves before the season, and we kind of struggled at points, which was unfortunate, but we knew going into our conference tournament, if we wanted to make it, we'd have to play our best basketball, and that's exactly what we did. We had everyone stepped up, was super confident, and played our best basketball when it really mattered. It was super exciting, you know, the buzz around campus, around the town of Spartanburg. It was super cool to see before March Madness. And, you know, obviously our conference tournament was before a lot of other ones. We were one of the first teams to kind of punch our ticket, which was cool to see. And then playing in March Madness, it was a super special experience as well. So that was a crazy time, but it was a lot of fun.
Kyler Filewich, local product, now a member of the Winnipeg Sea Bears, joins us. So you finish up your college career. When did you start talking to Coach? How did it all come together that you're going to be a part of this squad this summer?
Yeah, I talked with Coach Taylor for a bit throughout the year. Just he'd check in here and there. I was able to meet him last summer. I came to a Sea Bears practice when I was home. Was able to check it out and meet him then. So we stayed in contact throughout a lot of the year, but kind of just smaller conversations. But then once the season ended, he kind of reached out and we started having more serious talks about joining the Sea Bears. And that was obviously something I was super interested in. So it didn't take long to kind of get it handled, and now it's announced. So I'm super excited for it.
So Kyler, for Sea Bears fans that'll be coming out to Canada Life Center to watch the squad this year, what sort of a player are we getting?
Yeah, I think I'd like to think I bring a lot of toughness to the court. You know, I'm a physical player down low, in the post on offense and defense. I'm a rebound pretty well. I really like to pass the ball, you know, from out of the post and kind of handle it on the perimeter and make some reads from up there as well. So just I'm gonna be someone that plays super hard and leaves it all out there for the Sea Bears this summer. And I hope, you know, I'm able to do what I can to make an impact. And I think I should be able to do that.
What you know, obviously this is a shorter season, and it's right after your college season. Do you already have plans or something set up for the following winter season?
Not yet. No, I'm still working on that, trying to hopefully find a spot to land in the fall. But you know, as of right now, I'm kind of more focused on getting ready for this summer and just seeing what happens from there.
I guess in a lot of ways, is the perfect example, particularly for Canadian players, how this league is an opportunity to show what you can do, put your best forward, and hopefully have that lead to other opportunities after the CEBL season. Exactly.
Yeah. So that'd be something that'd be really, really awesome if that were to happen for me. But I know it's happened for a lot of players, and that's why the CEBL is such a great league. It gives a lot of local players that opportunity. It's super cool to see.
Kyler Filewich with us. Kyler, I have to ask you at some point, I don't think this is in the tournament, but I saw a thing, and I did not know that you were from Winnipeg at this time, but they were doing a piece on Wofford. Did I see you chucking up free throws underhanded like the granny style? Tell us about that, how you decided to give that a go.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of not something I expected to do, obviously, but I was struggling from the line throughout the year. We had one of our assistant coaches come to me after a game one time. I met with him, and he kind of brought this idea of shooting underhand. And at first, I didn't really know what to think of it because it's just something so different. And obviously, in the middle of the season, it's a big change to make. But then he told me that if I was willing to do it, he had a connection to Rick Barry. And he said Rick Barry would be willing to come up to Wofford's campus and show me how it's done. And if he's 4th all time in the NBA in free throw percentage shooting underhanded. So I just thought at that point it'd be kind of stupid for me to not try it. And I tried it. And it worked out pretty well. Obviously, trying something new in the middle of the season with about a month left. I wasn't able to get it perfectly off the rip, but it's something I've continued to work on throughout the past few months since the season ended. So it's something different, but whatever works, I'm just trying to do whatever it takes to help my team win some games. So yeah, that's why I decided to do it.
Rick Barry's one of the most, historic names in the sport. Just what was that like? I mean, you're probably thinking, what am I getting myself into? But
yeah,
at the same time, an opportunity for a basketball legend to work with one-on-one.
Yeah, it was super cool. When my coach first said that to me, I didn't really believe him. I was like, Rick Barry's there's no way he's going to come teach me how to shoot underhand free throws. But then he did. And we worked together for a whole Sunday for hours on hours throughout the day. And then the Monday, I came in before my classes, after, in between my classes and practice. So we worked on it for a Sunday and a Monday. Kind of taught me, and I'm still in contact with him. He'll kind of text me. During the season he would, about games, he'd watch the free throws and kind of see what I was doing wrong and try to correct it. So I'm super thankful for him. It was a surreal experience, like you said, working with a legend like that. It was super cool, and I'm super thankful for him.
Well, hey, I'm just thinking summer is a much better time to tell people to visit us in Winnipeg in the summer than in the winter.
Exactly.
Maybe we roll out the red carpet for Rick Barry at some point this season. He gets to come and see you as a Sea Bear. That'd be cool. Hey, Kyler, listen, big day for the organization, big day for you. This is great news. It's been a lot of fun following your college career. Now it is even better that Winnipeg fans are going to be able to see you do it in person at Canada Life Center beginning this season with the Winnipeg Sea Bears. Congratulations on the new deal, and let's catch up during the season.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
All right, there's Kyler Filewich. Sea Bear season coming up. Gold Eyes on the field today. We'll have to get Logan Watkins on to come on and fill us in on the fish team. Cannot wait to get going with the Gold Eyes. We're putting in plans for our patio party day, as well as a couple other group days later on this season, to come out and drink and eat and enjoy Gold Eyes baseball with the WST crew. They have to do a Bomber game as well. We'll see about that. CFL draft is tomorrow. We're going to do a raid in a few minutes for a bit of a draft preview with our pals Eddie Tate and Derek Taylor. But before we do that, we have to get to our Coolbet lines and our special marble race, where whoever wins the marble race will be your Game 5 playoffs in the Peg winner, and we'll be going to Game 5 courtesy of Coolbet and Winnipeg Sports Talk. Again, hopefully we're going to be able to do this for a while come playoff time. So if you missed out for Games 1, 2, and 5, get to our social media channels at Sports Talk WPG, Instagram, X. You'll see the pinned tweet. Make sure to follow the instructions if you haven't already. And we will hopefully be doing it for Game 7 as well. We got to figure out when that would be because, of course, Friday is a show. Maybe just a special pop-up marble race on Saturday. We'll see about that. First things first, let's get to Game 5. We'll see who we're sending to Game 5 with Coolbet in just a couple of minutes. But going to the Coolbet lines for tonight, 2 games this evening. Game 4 between the Lightning and the Panthers. We talk a lot about pushback. Well, we got it from the Lightning with no Brandon Hagel in the lineup. They go into Florida, beat the Panthers handily in game number 3. Game 4 tonight, Panthers are a minus 147 favorite. The Lightning plus 125. And then coming off an absolute beatdown of the Dallas Stars in game number 4, we get Game 5 in the other Central Division matchup, the Avalanche and the Stars. The Avalanche favored on the road, minus 141. The Dallas Stars, plus 120 home dogs. Now, this is going to be quite interesting. And let me just ask this to you. And let us know in the chat before I do this. I think it's a bonus why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Of the Vegas Minnesota series, Edmonton LA series, Winnipeg St. Louis series, and Colorado Dallas, all 4 series in the West tied 2-2 after 4 games. Who do you think is the biggest favorite of all of the teams remaining in the West right now? Who's the biggest favorite and who's the biggest underdog? I'm quite interested into what you think about that before we dive into it. While you get your thoughts in on that, I will tell you that the Leafs, after losing Game 4, are minus 164 favorite tomorrow to beat the Sens. Sens plus 139 to get it back to Ottawa. The Hurricanes minus 270 over the Devils. Devils plus 220. And the Vegas Golden Knights back to being a pretty big favorite, minus 211 at home. Minnesota plus 175. And the Kings, a minus 133 favorite. Oilers plus 113. Let's see what everyone thinks. And by the way, fan feedback is brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. The business has been booming, I would say, for games 1 and 2. If you're looking to get into the building for game number 5, fansfirst.ca. No added fees. What you see is what you pay. Nothing added on after the fact. And if you are a seller, you'll know exactly what you are scheduled to get back after you post the tickets, and you'll get that back in your bank account. Simple e-transfer the day after the game. So Ernie Thiessen thinks the biggest favorite is the Avs. The biggest underdog is the Wild. Spiritman says Dallas. Slick Shadow says they all should be pretty even at IMO. Joel Kevinson, Edmonton has to be the favorite after last night. And let's see, I'd answer, but this is where Huss rips someone. I'm not going to rip anyone. Lucas Maceo, what's up, Lucas? Colorado, the best team in the West, I believe. So here it is. By the way, fan feedback, as always, brought to you by Fans First. By fans, for fans, no fees. Back to the Coolbet lines we go. For the playoffs, these are the series prices right now. The Dallas Stars and Colorado Avalanche. The Stars are plus 143 underdogs. The Avalanche are minus 175. The Oilers Kings series, which was crazy on the weekend. Still cannot believe that challenge in Game 3. That might have flipped the entire series. This one is a pick'em. Minus 110 Kings, minus 110 Edmonton. And the Kings did look dead to rights, at multiple times in Games 3 and 4. They're back. This one is a pick'em. The Minnesota-Vegas series is actually the biggest. Vegas is a minus 263 favorite against Minnesota, and the Wild are plus 210. So when you think the Kings Oilers is a pick'em, so what is the series price on the Jets and the St. Louis Blues? This will come as a shock to some Jet fans who are still, I think, feeling pretty rattled. Winnipeg minus 182 favorites in this series. The Blues plus 150. So for all the shock and awe of Game 3 and 4, for the recency bias that we have put into these last 2 games, I always say everyone can make their own picks, follow where the money is. And while the Vegas Golden Knights are the biggest favorite by quite a bit, they have the Jets more likely to win this series than they do the Colorado Avalanche. So Remis, again, the books go with numbers. The books go with the body of work. Maybe this can be a little bit of confidence-building information for Jet fans that feel like their series is maybe a pick'em, like LA and Edmonton's, as opposed to the Jets still being the team with home ice. Home ice has won every game so far this series, and they have not lost confidence in the Winnipeg Jets, and most importantly, the Jets and how they come out on game number 5 and maintain their confidence and will to battle, compete, and win a hockey game will be the determining factors. But I was quite surprised that the Jets were as big of favorites as they are still in this series, considering it's 2-2 and what we saw in game 3 and 4.
Yeah, I would agree, Hustler. It's easy to go with the recency bias and how you're feeling after what we just witnessed, but you look on a numbers perspective and the Jets do have an advantage. And you know what Money Puck has as the percentage chance of winning for game 5 on Wednesday? They have
These are never wrong.
They have
as T-Will said.
They have the Jets, never wrong. The Jets at 61.6%. I'm gonna have to do some quick math to say what that converts to as American odds, minus whatever that is, but it seems pretty high. That's the same percent chance that they give to the Capitals over the Canadians. So the numbers, I guess they don't really care about what just happened, going from more of a on the whole as a season. And you hear from Connor Hellebuyck. I liked hearing from him. He studied goaltending more than anyone in the world. How could you doubt that guy for game 5? He's the Winnipeg Jets tendy for game 5. He's the tendy for the rest of his contract. He's multi-Vezina winner. Just got announced the nomination today, so I think you should have confidence that they can figure out their game. I know it's tough. Feels like deja vu. I'm having a lot of flashbacks to the game 5 from 2019 as well, which still give me nightmares. I have the image of Jacob Trouba pinning the puck into the board, seared into my brain. But this is a different Jets team. So this is the President's Trophy Jets, not the Jets that fell down the stretch. They were able to finish the story. And we'll see if they can write a different one for this playoffs. And it's not going to be the same one that we've had the last two with first-round series exits.
Yeah, as I said before, if you want to conquer your demons, sometimes you got to stare them down in the face. And this is that opportunity to do exactly that heading into game 5 after a really rough trip to St. Louis for the Winnipeg Jets. I did love hearing from Hellebuyck today, though. I think that that did make me feel better. And you know what? The one thing that sucked, Reem, about yesterday, maybe the worst part of that game, was the fact that it was a noon game. And it wasn't even 3 o'clock. And everyone, Arniel says, you know what? You chew on it until midnight. Well, we had 9 hours to chew on it. And I didn't even stay up for the end of the Oiler-King game. I just could not wait to get to sleep and wake up on Monday and be closer to game 5 and be further away from game 4. I'm sure there was a few people in the same boat. That being said, let's get back into a positive state of mind. It's a 2-2 series. Game 5 is going to be a big one, and someone is going to game 5 courtesy of Coolbet and Winnipeg Sports Talk in our playoffs in the PEG contest. Here we are. Here are our 20 qualifiers, I should say, for today's race. So I guess the ats are the X ones?
Yeah, the ats are the X ones, and
Perfect.
the
other ones are IG.
Other ones are Instagram. Yeah, and I gotta put in. The randomizer is just picking one more.
Okay, sounds
put it
good.
in. Got my friend ChatGPT.
Yeah,
I've shoved all the names in there, and I said, "Hey, spit out some for the thing."
Okay, so here we go. Twitter contestants for today's race for playoffs in the PEG. At Mercs29, at Fuers21_, at Larry in the PEG, at Transcompton1, at Sean Sampson, at AJ_area 0131729. We've also got at Andrew_Gill, at JPan85, at hello_there8888, at CJ Diddick or Diddick CJ, at the Earl of Ely. Now, for our Instagram contestants, we've got Crazy Lacey 204. We've got Josh _Conway. Walk with Vince. Marcus _Gray _D. Frost Family Reels. Justin Maria G. M Amp Yoga. Mark M Fanasuk. Good luck, Mark. K Berard 91 and Todd Furutani. So there we have it. 20 names. One winner. And that winner will be in the whiteout on Wednesday night. Late game. Don't forget, folks. It says 8:30. It's going to be a puck drop of around 8:52. So get that nap in on Wednesday night. We'll, of course, have plenty of time to talk about it, get ready for it from both the Winnipeg side, the St. Louis side. Mike McKenna, former NHL goalie, is actually going to join us tomorrow in the program as well. Talk about the Blues pre-scout, what they're doing on Connor Hellebuyck, and have they figured him out? What can the Jets do to prevent it? We'll get a great some goalie perspective on all this tomorrow on the show. But Remo, let's fire it up. Our championship course for our playoffs in the peg contest winner. 20 marbles go in. One will be in first, and that one will be set up by WST and, of course, our great partners at Coolbet. If you haven't played a Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And add that in on your response to the playoffs in the peg contest for a second ballot in the draw for the final 20. All right, Remo, we ready to go?
We are ready. Oh, wait, I got to do one thing. Sorry, not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
What time is it here? 3:15, not bad.
3:15, not bad. The community champions. There we are. Dylan 70.
Is this a Dylan 70?
Architects of our time. That's what it says. Champions Fire Project. Dylan 70. Maybe it was something else, champion. Maybe this is a different course. Regardless, this is the one we're using today.
This was it. It said we've done it twice.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, so all of you, thank you for entering. Special thanks to Ange, Pat, and Jake at Coolbet for making this great contest possible. Hopefully we'll have many more chances to take WST listeners to games. But the team's got to get the dub tonight, or Wednesday night. That's the key. And then we'll see what happens. All right, 20 in. First one in the hopper will be the Game 5 winner. Good luck to all. Thanks to Coolbet. Let's do this on WST for Game 5. Oh, yeah, here we go. A little bit of a Plinko start. And now going into one of the two reels. Nice little start for Todd Furutani. Merckx is right there. K Berard 91 going down. Oh, we just had an elimination. Todd Furutani. It was a great start. Easy come, easy go. Good luck next time. Oh, we just had another one. Who was that?
Walk with Vince.
All right. It was funny. We had a few eliminations in the first time we did it. We had none in the second time. But in first place right now, FUers 121. But Merckx 29 with a nice boost. Now we're sort of bogged up here. But Sean Sansom is first down the slide, followed by Merckx 29 and Mark Ampioga. Who will be? Oh, we just saw someone else get booted. That was Josh Conway. Fortunate for Josh. 3 already out. Sean is in first. Merckx 29 is in second. And Sean Sampson and Merckx kind of making this a bit of a two-horse race. And look at that transition from Merckx 29. Wow. That could be the move that wins it for Merckx. Sean Sampson coming along, but Merckx had that crazy speedy transition, but here comes Sean. We are getting bunched up again, but Merck's coming in now. If you recall, I believe it was Alec Paulo who was in first here and fell off last time. Looks like Merck's is negotiating that one quite well. He's going to be first into the funnel, it seems. Now, then you got to get through the orb and into the final one. This is Merck's 29's race to lose. For the tickets. And Crazy Lacey just got eliminated, but Merck's is tied up. This is going to get into the orb. I think F. Ewers is actually first in. Okay, now Merck's is in. But they're getting spun around. Who will end up first into it? We don't know. It really is anybody's race right now. Coolbet and WST sending someone to game 5. Who's going to be first out of here? It looks like it might be Merck's 29. He's slowly making it through. Sean Sampson right behind him. Merck's is in. Will he drop? Yes! An up and down race that ends with Merck's 29 getting the lead, blowing the lead, getting it back, but most importantly, finishing the job. Maybe that will be a metaphor for the Jets in this series. Having the lead, blowing the lead, getting it back, and finishing the job. We can only hope. Your top 10 for this one, I mean, really for this one, the one that matters is number 1. Because Merck's 29 is our winner.
Yeah, I see him on X/Twitter, Brock Corbett. I know he's a regular listener
Attaboy, Brock.
of the show.
Attaboy, Brock.
So shout out to Brock. He's going to be pumped. I don't know if he's here right now, but we will send him a note.
Done. There's Larry in the peg and AJ getting burned at the end. So there it is, Merck's 290. Brock Corbett, congratulations, dude. Top 10, Sean Sansom in second, Marcus Gray D, Trans Compton, Andrew _Gill, Justin Marlog, Fewers 21, Earl of Eli, Mark Campioga, and K Berard 91, the final ones. And then J-Pan, Hello There, and Larry in the Peg all did finish. And then our other 7 contestants were top roped by the course. So, hey, Brock, congratulations. We'll send you a message and get those tickets out to you. Enjoy Game 5. And stay tuned to the show. We're going to have to figure out about Game 7 because we do have tickets for a potential Game 7. We won't know if Game 7 is happening until Friday night. So, as I say, we'll figure this out. We might do it beforehand on an if necessary basis. But if there's no game, it's tough to give tickets away. So we'll figure it out. But there's 3 winners this round, courtesy of Coolbet and WST. Congratulations. And if you missed it, get to our socials at the Playoffs in the Peg post on X and Instagram. Make sure you're entered. And especially don't forget to put in your Coolbet handle for double the chance to win. Great stuff, everybody. Great stuff. You know what? We're starting to build the vibes. We had to get through a very sour end of Sunday. We faced it head on today. And now we move on to tomorrow. Building, like the team, building till Wednesday night. Listen, can't wait for it, but this is what the playoffs is all about. I'd far rather be here with all of you stressing about a 2-2 series than talking about the draft lottery. I will tell you that much. And hey, as I said, we just listen to Connor Hellebuyck. They're still in a good spot. They got to be better. He needs to be better. They will be better. That's Wednesday night. We'll have lots more on it, though. We'll hear from the captain, Adam Lowry, tomorrow, Neil Pionk, Coach Scott Arniel, and, of course, have a practice report. I know Connor will be down there, and that'll be one of the most important and most viewed practices the Winnipeg Jets have had all season long as we get ready for Wednesday night. Gabriel Velarde expected to return to the lineup. We should have a better idea about where he'll fit in. Does he go right back with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele? The way the last couple games went, I would expect that to happen. but we'll have some clarity tomorrow. So make sure to join us on the program. And by the way, if you haven't already, make sure you get out and vote. I'm going to go do that as well a little bit later on today. Huge thanks to all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Really appreciate Kevin Sawyer jumping on with us before he heads overseas with Dan to call the Worlds. Mike McIntyre. And again, congratulations to Kyler Filewich on signing with the Sea Bears. We will look forward to talking to him later on this season. The CFL draft is tomorrow. We will be hitting that. But right now, if you're with us on YouTube, stay tuned. We got a raid over to the Bombers. Let's get the WST crew in there. WST crew in there. Say hi to Ed Tate and Derek Taylor from a good old-fashioned WST raid. So let's go check in on the Bombers right now and join us tomorrow, 1 p.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great night, everybody.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.